One of the points of frustration that I have when we have this discussion about U.S. China competition in Africa, critical minerals ends up becoming the focal point of this. And the part that I get frustrated is the fact that it's not really a competition. I mean, we just saw in the past week that Tsingshan, which is one of the largest steel manufacturers in China, just dropped $800 million into Zambia, or at least announced a deal for $800 million on top of billions that they've already committed into Zambia. This is, comparable with what we see in the DRC as well, where CMOC Group, Zijin, CNMC, any number of these major mining companies have invested billions of dollars. And yet cobalt is often held up, as we've just heard from Cobus, as the evidence that there is a competition. But when you look at the scale, it doesn't feel like there's any competition. Now, I'm not an expert in this field. You are. Tell us about this sense of competition between the US and China for critical minerals with companies like Cobalt.
There's not really competition happening on the ground, because competition, you have to really having something to you really have to have to be on par with the one you are competing with in terms of engagement, in terms of the size of your engagement. But the reality is US companies or Western companies are not really competing in that space with China. And cobalt, yes, it's a I think I would say it's a new kids a new kids in the block, really trying to make its space in a country like Zambia, also now extending its operation in the DRC. But when you compare to what Chinese state-owned companies or private companies or mixed-owned companies are doing in terms of investment in both Zambia and DRC, in Zimbabwe, elsewhere in the Southern African region, there's no comparison possible. So the narrative of competition is really not a. I don't think it's a very accurate way of presenting things, because they are not even fighting in the same league. They don't really not in the same space of